What's up, everyone? Back for another Whodunit Beer review. And today's beer comes courtesy of a very good friend of mine and fellow BeerTuber, Kyle, over at No Hype Beer Reviews. So a huge thanks to Kyle. I will post a link in the description box to not only the beer mail unboxing video I did that contains all the goodies that Kyle hooked me up with, but also a link to Kyle's channel because Kyle does some fantastic beer reviews, but more importantly, he's an amazing individual. So if you are not subbed to Kyle's channel, I highly recommend going over his channel and checking out his content. I think you'll like what you see. And if you do, give him a sub. He deserves way more subs for sure. And like I said, fantastic dude. And to me, that's what mostly matters. So Kyle sent me off a couple different Whodunit beer reviews, or Whodunit Beers to review in his last box. And if you're unfamiliar with what Whodunit beer reviews are, they're basically blind/mystery beer reviews that were popularized by another good friend of mine and fellow BeerTuber, Matt, over at Massive Beer Reviews. And this is how it works. Somebody will wrap up and conceal a beer, like Kyle did with this one here, and then they will either send or give me said beer, and I'll review the beer like I do any other beer on my channel, with the lone exception being I have no idea what the beer is. So at the end of the review, I try to guess the beer style, its ABV, and if I'm feeling confident enough, I'll try to guess the exact beer itself, although that rarely happens, and when I do try to guess it, I usually fail, so it doesn't happen too often. Then I will rate the beer before revealing it to both you and myself. So what do I know about this beer? Well, I know that it looks like it's in a 12-ounce bottle. I know that it was sent to me by Kyle, who, like myself, resides in New York State. And also know that Kyle has, let's just say, a very extensive beer cellar. If you follow his channel, you know most of his reviews take place in the basement in front of his beer cellar. And he has a ton of amazing beer behind him. And a lot of it is in 12-ounce bottles. So who knows? Maybe he grabbed one from his cellar and put it in the box. Maybe this is a fresh beer, although it's not that fresh, and that's because Kyle sent the beer mail to me about 4 months ago at the time of this review, so this beer has to be at least 4 months old. Now, if it's like a super fresh hazy or something like that, it's no longer super fresh, so hopefully my palate can pick it up. But outside of that, I don't know much about this one. I always like that he puts his logo on there, the No Hype logo. But yeah, anyway, let's crack it open and get it into the BeerTuber glass. I thought I'd use BeerTuber glass because I know that's one of, one of Kyle's favorite breweries, so let's crack this one open. So a good hiss, for sure. Now, it looks like an underfill. I don't know how that's going to come off on camera, but it is actually down here, and I smell like some kind of spirit, but it's like right here. I think they, probably not 12 ounces in here if it's a 12-ounce bottle. So anyway, let's give it a pour. Yeah, that pours out like some big, thick, viscous Imperial Stout. That's what I'm going to say right off the rip. And I smelled bourbon right from the get-go. Yeah, bourbon. Maybe chocolate. We'll see. I don't know why I'm doing that, but yeah, so that pours out. Now, this has been out of the fridge for about 45 minutes right now, and it's still, there's some condensation on here, so probably a little cooler than I wanted, but whatever. Yeah, that's a deep, dark brown, almost pitch black. It's going to look pitch black on camera, but in person, more of a dark brown. Had about a half a finger of this, I want to say like light brown colored head. Not a lot, going on with the head, probably because it's bigger ABV. Let's give it a swirl here and let's see. Yeah, so that's what the head looks like. That's more of a dark brown now that I'm swirling it up. So light brown when I poured it, dark brown now when I swirled it up. But yeah, that looks actually beautiful. I realized that I showed you guys the logo. But yeah, beautiful looking. What I'm going to say is an Imperial Stout of some sort. Let's get a nose. Yeah, definitely some whiskey in here or bourbon, something of that nature. Getting a ton of like just straight on spirit, but there's vanilla, there's oak, there's dark fruits in here. Oak tannin, chocolate. Almost like a more bittering chocolate on the nose. Coffee. It smells like a big beer. And there are sheets, absolute sheets on the glass. So based on the booze on the nose, I'm going to guess this is at least 10%, probably closer to like 12, 13. I don't know. It smells pretty big. So yeah, chocolate, dark fruits. There's like a nice roasty sensation. It could be from the roasted malt, could be a coffee char, something like that, or coffee roast, I should say. Then there's the spirit, the bourbon, the whiskey, whatever is in here. There's vanilla, there's oak, there's the spirit itself. It smells pretty good though. It smells like some kind of like chocolate dipped or chocolate covered dark fruit, but like there's a bourbon drizzle or something on it. It smells sweet, but reserved to some extent. Like, I know this is going to be a sweeter beer, but I feel like there's going to be enough bitterness from the base to kind of back that up. I don't know. It smells pretty fucking good, so let's get into it. Cheers, everybody, and thanks again, Kyle. That beer is epically smooth. Holy fuck. It's big. It's a big beer. Like, I got a warming into the chest. There's some alcohol in the palate, but man, is it super smooth. Body is medium full. It's viscous. It's thick. It's almost chewy. And it's almost like syrupy, honestly. And that's how the mouthfeel is too. It's very soft, smooth, creamy, syrupy. Wow, velvety smooth. The body and mouthfeel on this are spectacular. I would peg this at least 11%. I'm going to say probably around 12%, maybe even bigger. I will say this, the taste is not as complex as the nose. Definitely bourbon whiskey, something like here. Bourbon or whiskey, something like that here. There's a spirit involved to some degree. I get vanilla, I get oak. And that's kind of riding on the palate. Bourbon, vanilla, and oak. Underlying chocolate, and it's like a sweeter chocolate. So I'm going to say if there's adjuncts in here, I feel like cacao nibs or maybe just chocolate in general. There's some nice like molasses, dark fruit undertones as well, carrying up. Like this is all through the palate. Like so often when I do reviews, I'd be like right up front in the first half of the palate, mid palate, back up palate. That's not how this one rolls. This one rolls in a different way. All of it's carrying throughout the palate. That bourbon is like, you know, omnipresent. It's there all the time, and you know it's there. And then you have the underlying dark fruits, like more of like a raisin or a date or something. There's molasses. There's a little bit of burnt sugar, like a caramel too. There's something else on the palate, like it almost has like a fruity sensation, like they are brewing this one with some kind of dark fruit, like a cherry, a sweet dark cherry, or maybe a raisin or something, but I don't think so. If there's more than one or two adjuncts in here outside of the barrel aging, I couldn't tell you what they are. They probably have faded at this point. I don't think there's coconut. I don't think there's cinnamon. I don't think there's a vanilla edition, although I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think so. I think that's coming from the barrel itself. What can I say about this one? What can I say is that it's a fucking crazy easy drinking beer. If this beer is in the 11-12% range, like I think, or even higher, it drinks so easy on the palate. I'm starting to feel booziness in the chest, into the stomach, like just I can feel the booze, but the way it drinks is so smooth. So first off, this is a really tasty beer. I'm gonna go back for one more sip. Yeah, it's really good. I wish this one was about 3 to 5 degrees warmer. I'm probably going to guess this is in the low 50s. I probably want to see it 55 to 60. Probably should have let it out for 15 minutes longer, maybe even 20. But whatever. It's a little bit, it's cool, but not cold. I want to see this one like not straight room temperature, but a little cool. I think it's just a little bit too cold. Before I make a guess, let me pour the rest in here. And of course, get beer everywhere because I'm an idiot. Because that's how you roll on the Beer Patrol. Yeah, this is pretty good. Again, it's not as complex as it was in the nose, so I can't give it like a super high rating. But what I can say about this one is that I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So I am going to give this beer, or let me do the style, ABV, and everything first. Style. I think this is Imperial Stout. I'm gonna say it's brewed with cacao nibs or some kind of chocolate addition, and it's barrel aged. And I'm just gonna say whiskey barrel aged. The ABV, I'm just gonna say 11.5%. I feel like this could be higher. I don't think it's lower than like 11.5%. So I'm gonna say 11.5%, barrel-aged Imperial Stout with chocolate. If there's other adjuncts in here, maybe vanilla, maybe some kind of fruit, but I don't anticipate anything crazy. So yeah, a rating, I'm gonna give this a high 4.25 out of 5. I'm gonna go 4.35 out of 5. Almost into the 4 or 5 range. I think I would want a little bit more complexity to get into the 4 or 5 range. I don't know what this is. If it ends up being like an older bourbon county or something like that, it'd be crazy. I don't know. I just know that it's a damn good beer. Actually, let me take it back. I'm gonna give it a low 4.5. I honestly, you know what? The smoothness of this beer, I'm gonna go 4.4 out of 5. I think that's what this beer deserves. I hope this is just some like local offering from Kyle, or maybe like a really aged beer, old aged beer. I have no idea, but that's what I'm gonna lock in. 11.5% Imperial Stout with cacao nibs or some kind of chocolate addition. It's whiskey aged, and it's a 4.4 out of 5. So let me do the cap first. Let's do the cap first. I usually do let's do the cap and see what brewery it is first, and then we can try to make guesses here. This damn painter's tape, mother effers. So it's white. Does it actually have a logo on it? It does. It is Odd Side Ales. So it's an Odd Side Ales beer out of Michigan. So that's why I'm like, where's this one from? Well, apparently it's from Michigan. Let's see what this one is. So this is Odd Side Ales Hipster Brunch Stout. So, like I said, if there's a bunch of adjuncts in here, no. Yeah, this has got to be an age. I think they have the date on here. So let's see. I don't see what that says. It says, oh, 4/22/19. So at the time of this review, this beer is like 16 months old. So Hipster Brunch Stout from Odd Side. What is the ABV on this one? Do they even mention it? 11%. So I said 11.5. I'm within the realm. It is a stout brewed with maple syrup aged in bourbon barrels with coffee and bacon added. So a couple things. Number one, I nailed that it was an imperial stout. I nailed that it was pretty much 11.5% is 11. But I said chocolate, no. Aged in bourbon barrels, I said whiskey, yes. Maple syrup, it has faded. There is no maple syrup in here. Coffee, I told you in the nose there was like this kind of, you know, like char or kind of like roast, and I could say it comes from the barrel, or sorry, comes from the barrel or the base beer, or maybe even coffee in here. It didn't carry over taste. The coffee is faded. And bacon, let me tell you, I don't usually get bacon with this beer. I've had this beer a couple times before, and no, I don't usually get bacon. So I'm actually happy with how I did with this one, just because I've had this one fresh, and I know fresh, I've gotten the coffee and I've gotten the maple syrup. This is, 16 months old, and both of those adjuncts have faded immensely. Yeah, there is no maple. So there's a generic sweetness, and I just thought that was like a chocolate or just like a sweetness to it. This thing about this one does finish sweeter, but it's not really, it's not like overbearing. This is not like a crazy sweet beer. I would say this has some kind of balance, leans toward the sweeter side, not a lot of bitterness, but I wouldn't tell you there's maple syrup, coffee, and bacon here at all at this point. It drinks like a really good imperial stout that has some kind of chocolate in it, and definitely a barrel. Imperial stout, yes. Barrel, yes. Chocolate, no. Apparently there's maple syrup, coffee, and bacon in this one. And I know there is, and I know, like I said, I've had this fresh, and I do get 2 of those 3 adjuncts usually fresh, but I'm actually happy with how I did. I wish I would have been able to nail everything, but obviously that's not possible. I mean, sometimes it is, but not usually. And I do know that when it comes to maple and comes to coffee, it fades. And 16 months on this one, they've both faded into like a generic sweetness for the maple syrup, and the coffee is really not prominent at all. Yeah, there's no more roasty coffee on this one. So how do you think I did? I think I did A-okay for how old this beer is. I'm glad I almost nailed the ABV, and I'm glad I got the base right, and I knew there was a barrel. Outside of that, a lot of these beers with the adjuncts and whatnot in them, a lot of times I struggle with them. There was one I did recently from Jeff. It was another one with maple syrup, and it was like 6 months old. Didn't get maple syrup. Maybe I should start really honing in on that generic sweetness, because this is the second beer now they've done as a Whodunit. There's maple in it, and it just gives me a generic sweetness. There's not much else outside of that when it comes to the maple. So maybe I should have put 2 and 2 together, but I didn't. I did not. Anyway, thanks to Kyle for hooking me up with this one. 4.4 out of 5. This is still a fucking delicious beer, even with those adjuncts faded. It's a good beer overall. And if you've had this one before, let me know what you think about price point and availability. I usually don't do that for Whodunits. I want to say these bottles are like $5, $6 a bottle, and usually you can pick these up in Michigan. I think they get outside of the brewery at this point. And yeah. Thanks again to Kyle for hooking me up with this one. A lot of fun to do, and he kind of threw me a curveball. He's like, yeah, I'm in New York, but here's a Michigan beer that's pretty much only available in Michigan. Actually, I've seen Hipster Brunch. I've seen a couple of other variants in I think it was Kentucky, maybe Ohio. So they probably do get out of the state at this point, but definitely don't see them in New York State. At least I don't. So yeah, anyway, that does it for another Whodunit Beer review. I think I have one more from Kyle that I have to review in the near future. And I really do appreciate you sending this one my way, Kyle. You fucked with my mind, because that's what you do. And like I said, check out Kyle's channel. Fantastic dude, awesome content. And he drinks beers like this all the time, because he slays nothing but whales. No hype beer reviews. It should be changed to hype beer reviews, because that's all he reviews is hype stuff. Right, Kyle? Right? Anyway, appreciate everybody stopping by. Thanks again to Kyle. Till the next one. Cheers.